Welcome to the On Your Side podcast. I'm Gary Harper.
And I'm Susan Campbell. Ever since gas started to spike, electric vehicles have been a hot topic. But up until now, much of that talk is centered around new electric vehicles. But what about used EVs?
Pre-owned electric vehicles can save you a significant amount of money, and it might be a good idea, but buying used EVs come with risks that could cost you money down the road, and that's something you want to avoid.
So today, Scott Painter joins us on the On Your Side podcast. He is the founder and owner of a company called Autonomy, which allows consumers to subscribe to electric vehicles. But more importantly, he'll tell you what to look for when buying a pre-owned EV to avoid any pitfalls.
This is On Your Side with Susan Campbell and Gary Harper, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast.
All right, welcome to the On Your Side podcast. I'm Gary Harper along with Susan Campbell.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. You know, we're talking about electric vehicles, EVs.
I have never driven one. I think a lot of people haven't. There was actually a Consumer Reports survey that was done that showed only about 7% of people had ever actually even driven an EV.
Have you been inside one?
I have, yeah.
It's kind of weird, right?
It's cool.
Well, it's like a spaceship. It really is. I mean, I did not drive it, but I did sit in one, and everything is very sleek. There's really no gauges. This was a Tesla. I don't know if all EVs are like this, but I sat in a Tesla in the passenger seat. And by the way, the thing was fast.
You can go 0 to 60 quickly.
I felt like I was in NASCAR. It was really quick.
That's your dream, isn't it?
It is, yes. We're getting off topic already. Talking about NASCAR. But there was a monitor in the Tesla. So everything is there, like speedometer, everything. Radio.
All right there.
It's kind of weird, though.
It's a little different.
It is a little different. I think it would take a lot for me to get used to.
Well, you're a car guy.
Yeah.
You kind of like the classics.
Well, the traditional. I mean, I like my gauges in front. But listen, if it's going to save money on gas, maybe you can,
twist your arm a little bit.
Flip me. Who knows? Hey, today we're talking to Scott Painter. He's the founder and owner of Autonomy, and he joins us on the On Your Side podcast. How you doing today, Scott?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you know a little something about electric vehicles, as we call EVs, and you're out in Los Angeles. You own a company, as I mentioned, Autonomy. Briefly tell us what that is.
Sure. Autonomy is an all-electric vehicle subscription service, and it's really about providing much easier and more affordable access to an electric car. And it's for folks who might have a little bit of range anxiety, fear of this new product, and it not being sort of what they are used to. But it's pretty clear we're all going to be driving an electric car. Certainly, if you look at all of the car companies have said they're going all electric, not like they're going to make one or two. They're going to make only electric cars going forward. And that transition is really underway right now.
Tell me briefly how it works. I think you have to have an app, an Autonomy app, and then how does it work? If I want to drive an electric car, how does this work?
Sure. Well, the Autonomy app is a location-based service, so you have to have a smartphone. First of all, you can't get a car from Autonomy on your laptop. So sort of the same as Uber. This is going to be a car that is your car to drive for as long as you want, and therefore we go ahead and connect everything through that smartphone interface. What you need is a valid driver's license and a credit card. Period. End of story. That's it. Everything comes with a car. So we handle title, registration, maintenance is included, roadside assistance. So you don't have to come out of pocket for tires, brakes, windshield wipers. If anything goes wrong with the car, it's fully covered. So you don't have to have any concern about a big expense going forward. And then most importantly, we also offer auto insurance as part of the overall package. So you don't have to really go through many of the normal things that make buying and owning a car sort of a frustrating experience for most people.
How long do people normally keep these cars?
Well, it's a month-to-month subscription. We do require a 3-month minimum. So this is not like a rental car, but it's also 5 times cheaper than a rental car. A rental car costs you about $100 a day. For a Tesla Model 3, we're about $20 a day. However, we have customers who we just got started doing this with the Teslas around the Autonomy brand in January. So we've had customers who have, of course, been in their cars since January, but my partner and I co-founded a business called Fair, which was the first used vehicle subscription app, similar concept, but for non-electric cars. And Fair, we had customers in their cars for 3 and 4 years.
Wow.
Who is your typical customer? Who's the person who wants to get in one of these EVs and keep it for maybe an extended period compared to a rental period?
Sure. Well, our average price point is about $500 a month. And so, that tends to be below the average monthly payment of a car, new or used, no matter what you're driving. So we are definitely, from an affordability point of view, not looking at like a premium or luxury customer only. We're looking at pretty much right down the fairway. Everyday people who are looking to try an electric car. There's currently nearly a 100,000 customer deep wait list for a Tesla Model 3. So the average wait time for a Tesla Model 3 is in excess of 9 months and as high as 12 months. And so a lot of people that we see coming in are on that wait list and they just don't want to wait. We buy cars in bulk. And so we are rolling cars every day. We started in California. We're now expanding into Florida, Texas, Arizona, and Washington. But within a year and a half, we'll be nationwide.
Wow. But you're not in Arizona yet then, right?
We're going into Arizona right now. So we can get customers going in Arizona. So if you've got a listener in Arizona, they would be able to go to autonomy.com, see everything that we offer, and we'll get them a car.
All right. Man, that's an amazing,
It's an interesting business model.
Very interesting business. I haven't heard of anything like that before. All right, so listen, let's talk about pre-owned EVs. Let's say we have listeners who maybe can't afford a brand new Tesla, which I believe is going for, a minimum of $65,000. And let's just say they want to go pre-owned. What do they do when looking at an EV?
Well, first of all, I'm going to give you some interesting information. The current price of a 3-year-old Tesla Model 3 is higher than a brand new Tesla Model 3.
Well, that's because of the wait list.
It's because of that wait list, and there's just not enough of these vehicles out on the road. So in America today, you've got 300 million non-electric cars. You've got 1.7 million electric cars. So the used car market for electric cars is very, very tight. There's just not a lot of free inventory floating around and cars for sale. So at any given time, because consumers are thinking, you know what, I'd like to go ahead and drive electric, there's just a scarcity problem. And that supply-demand imbalance is really what drives the market clearing price of a used car. So right now, it's probably really about, if you're willing to pay a premium, you can go ahead and accelerate the time frame. But this is one of the reasons we created Autonomy, is to give people access to a car right now without having to make a financial commitment, go into debt. One of the cool things about a subscription is it doesn't show up on your credit report as debt, so it doesn't take away any of your other borrowing capability. If you're getting a home loan or trying to borrow money for something else, this just shows up as a month-to-month subscription.
Wow. Well, I mean, if you're looking for a pre-owned, you're going to pay a pretty penny, obviously. I mean, because of that wait list. Let's just say people are willing and they're like, I want my EV. I want it like yesterday. And let's just say they came across one. What do you do as a buyer? You don't look at it as a traditional car, because we're talking about a battery here. So let's talk about the pre-owned batteries.
Yeah, I think that one of the big concerns about electric cars is battery life and also battery range, charging infrastructure. So all of those things, I think, create a certain fear factor with electric cars. The number one thing to make sure when you're looking at an electric car is that it is going to be under battery warranty. Tesla currently has an 8-year battery warranty.
Wow.
If the car is older than 8 years old and it's outside of that battery warranty period, I would be a little bit concerned.
Wow.
How much does it cost to replace a battery? Or are you just looking at getting rid of the car at that point?
You know, it's interesting. In the early days of the electric car, there was a term called bricking the car, where if you didn't plug in your battery for a certain amount of time, you would have to go and have those batteries replaced. Bricking was an expensive proposition. It was almost half the cost of the car. Today, cars don't really have that problem, because these are smart machines that know exactly when they need a charge. They tell you where to go to get it. And so there are a lot of ways, level 1, level 2, and level 3 charging to charge your car. Level 1 just means plug it into a 110 outlet and you're going to get about 25 miles a night. I think that for that reason, you do not see very much battery reconditioning, if at all, at this point. As people are having battery problems, those cars are covered under warranty, and the manufacturer takes them back and fixes those cars.
Hey, if I buy an EV and it's pre-owned or new, do I have to have some kind of a special electrical outlet thing in my garage, installed, or can I just plug it into where my beer fridge is?
Well, level 1 charging, which is what 80% of all EV users do, is a simple converter cable and a 110 outlet is all that's required. That comes with the car in most cases, and that's what the majority of people do. That gives you 25 to 30 miles of range. Most batteries today have about 250 to 300 miles of range, so you're getting about 10% of that battery refilled overnight. Level 2 charging requires an AC converter. It's about a $500 to $1,000 converter, depending on the manufacturer. It does require a couple $100 of an electrician's time, but all you need in the house is a 240 outlet, like you would for a commercial, washing machine or dryer, or maybe a really big refrigerator. So it's not a very intense or complex, big investment. Many people who tend to go with level 2 charging look at battery systems and solar systems as sort of accompany that. But getting a level 2 charger installed at home or in your apartment is really not a very big deal. But less than 10% of consumers are relying on level 2 charging. Really, this level 3 charging, which is DC fast charging, where you can get an entire battery refilled from dead to 250 miles of range in under 1 hour. Those are currently getting installed very rapidly. One of the cool things about the charging infrastructure that most people don't understand is we don't have to retrench from the energy plant. All this electricity is currently part of the current electrical grid. What we need to do is put in converters, and DC fast charge converters are a little bit of an investment. No consumers are really doing that on their own, but these DC fast charging stations usually can charge almost double the kilowatt hourly rate for the convenience. It's a good business, and they tend to be emerging as a very fast follow to EV registrations. So in California today, you've got a DC fast charging station within about 10 minutes of every Californian.
Hey, I see outside a lot of stores, like, say, Target, for example. You'll see some charging stations. Just curious, what level is that?
That's usually level 2. Once in a while, if you see a supercharger, which is a Tesla branded DC fast charging station, they're starting to install these at certain markets like Erewhon and some of the more high end stuff. But mostly what you see at the shopping malls and supermarkets and commercial areas are level 2 AC chargers. And if you're going to be shopping for a couple of hours, it might give you an extra 15, 20 miles of range.
How much is that going to cost me? If I go shopping and I plug my car in, how much do they charge you?
Yeah, you're going to be charged usually somewhere between 20 and 30 cents a kilowatt hour, which is about 1.5 times what it would otherwise cost you to get home power off the grid. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit of an upcharge for convenience, but it's not too dramatic. And given that it's going to charge a little bit more slowly than these DC fast charging stations, you're only going to be able to get, maybe $3 to $5 worth of juice over a course of 2 or 3 hours.
All right. Yeah. But if you need to juice up, you got to get it, right?
You got to get it.
I do know that APS and SRP both have rebates and discounts right now for the level 2 chargers in homes. If you want to get them installed, there are credits that are about equal to what the cost actually would be to get them installed, because both of those utilities are kind of pushing that to make EV owning a little bit more.
Well, they also want the money, right?
Well, yes, of course, right? You're going to use their electricity, but it is making it a little bit more convenient and kind of helping that conversion, right?
Yeah. Wow, look at you. I did not know that. A little factoid from Ms. Campbell.
I know.
Very nice.
We're living in a pretty extraordinary moment. The transformation from internal combustion to electric is going to have profound effects, not just in terms of who manufactures what, but in terms of how we pay for it, in terms of how we charge it or fuel it, how we insure it. As cars become more electric, they also tend to be more autonomous, more connected. The technology in the car is going to mean that we have fewer accidents, and everything is going to get a little bit more efficient. There's also tremendous federal, state, municipal, and even countywide rebates, depending on where you live, and incentives and credits. There is so much right now in favor of going electric that, these big forces are going to result in a very, very quick transformation. It's one of the most profound transformations in human history. It's going to be sort of on par with the agricultural revolution and the initial introduction of the car, which made us a really mobile culture. You're looking at one of the largest industrial segments of modern life, and it's getting completely rewritten right now. But when gasoline goes above $5 a gallon, the idea of driving electric isn't just a good idea. It's 3, 4, 5 times cheaper. When it goes to $6 a gallon, it gets close to 10 times cheaper. When it goes to $7 a gallon, like it's here in California where I live, it is almost 15 times cheaper to drive the same miles as an electric car. And let me just give you the numbers. The average American gets about 18 to 20 miles to the gallon in the car that they're currently driving. And they drive about 1,000 miles a month. That means over the course of a year at $6 a gallon, you're putting just about $4,000 into your gas tank, and you could be driving those same miles for $500 of electricity, even in a state like California, where we pay not only the highest gas prices, but also the highest electricity prices. At 19 cents a kilowatt hour here in California, that's a $500 charge. That is a radical savings. That is a $200 more a month car payment that you could be making. You could step up, drive a much nicer car, and be spending less money. And talk to somebody who's driving a truck in the Midwest, going from a truck that might be getting 10 or 12 miles to the gallon to driving an F-150 Lightning. And you mentioned at the top of the show that they're fun to drive. These are very torquey vehicles. On the low end, anywhere from 0 to 60 miles an hour, you can't beat an electric car off the line. You just can't do it.
Wow. Look at Scott putting all the numbers together. He just had that. Pew, pew, pew. It does. It sounds like it makes sense. I mean, once you get up to $6 a gallon.
Well, I was going to ask, look into your crystal ball if you can. So you make a great case for driving an EV, but the simple fact of the matter is that, there aren't that many options available right now because of all kinds of supply chain issues. How soon is it until it is more realistic for somebody to go to a car lot and be able to say, I would like an EV and not be on the wait list?
Well, we're all starting to see these television commercials, which I think are a canary in the mine. It's coming. But in the third quarter of this year, Tesla, for example, produced 367,000 electric cars. The entire industry, other than Tesla, which includes everybody from Toyota and Volkswagen to Porsche and Mercedes and BMW to General Motors and Ford and Kia and Hyundai, the whole segment produced less than 30,000 cars in the same time period that were electric. So the industry has a lot of catching up to do. We are seeing investments across the board. What we look for in our business is proof that these cars are coming, and that's most clearly when somebody invests billions of dollars and puts shovels in the dirt and starts building a factory. So there are 38 different make, model, trims of electric car that have been already announced for production in the next 12 to 18 months. These cars are not yet here in volume, but they are coming. Chevrolet, for example, has said they're going all electric. So their lineup is going to go everything from the very top, where you've got the Hummer EV, the Corvette is going electric, to the Cadillac Lyriq, and then you've got the Silverado, the pickup truck that's going to compete with the F-150 Lightning. So you're going from $100,000+ vehicles down into the mid-60s, down into the mid-50s, and then of course they've got the Equinox, the Blazer in the 40s, and then they're going to go sub $30,000 with the Chevy Bolt. So they're going to have an entire lineup of electric cars. They've committed to be completely electric by 2030. Ford has said they're going to be completely electric by 2026. So very aggressive. And it's pretty clear today, if you're a car company and you haven't committed to go all electric, you are at risk of becoming obsolete.
Hey, I want to circle back to autonomy, and I'm going to throw a curveball at you. We talked about the supply chain, and consumers are wanting to get EVs. How does autonomy run a company when there seems to be a shortage of these new cars, but yet you have all these cars that you're able to let consumers drive for a subscription? How does that happen?
So we're very flexible in terms of the configuration of car that we buy. And manufacturers today really fall into two categories. One is there is an incumbent manufacturer like a General Motors or a Ford that has a long history of working with rental car companies and other fleets, where they have a program where we can go ahead and make a large purchase order. At Autonomy, we have ordered 23,000 cars with 17 different manufacturers. And that is different for every manufacturer. And every manufacturer has gone back to us and given us a different forecast of what we can expect and when. And really the strategy is go big and diversify our risk by ordering cars from everybody. But when we order a car, we order 100, 1,000, 2,000, 4,000 cars at a time. And so those orders give us a little bit more predictability. The other car companies, these new entrants like Tesla, include Rivian, Polestar, Fisker, Lucid, Canoo, all direct-to-consumer business models. They don't have any kind of a fleet muscle. They don't know how to deal with companies like us just yet. But to them, they've got wait lists of customers, and they just have a production problem. So what we say to them is, we'll buy any configuration of the car you make. We'll pay full retail. And one of the things that Tesla, for example, allows its customers to do is cancel their order up to the day they take delivery. While that's a great customer benefit because the customer may have changed their mind and they may have been on wait for almost 9 months for a car, we go ahead and buy that car, and it doesn't matter what the color is, what the tire and wheel combination, what the battery combination is. We buy that car, and we solve a real problem for companies like Tesla and others that are looking to really keep their manufacturing facility operating at this optimal 100% level. So there is a very niche fit for companies like ours, but it is about having the capital at the ready and being opportunistic. This is not going to be a thing where the entire industry comes to the table at the same time with the same capacity, with the same solution. We just have to be very much aware of the fact that we're part of helping to accelerate the mass adoption of electric cars. And as such, we want to be pretty flexible. We always want to have a good selection of and variety of vehicles in our lineup, so that people can actually get the car that's right for them. Everybody can afford a car. They just can afford a different car. So we're working on making sure that we have lots of choice. But so far, we feel as though we've made a good bet on Tesla. The Tesla Model 3 and the Tesla Model Y are the most at-scale, mass-produced electric cars on planet Earth. And given that these cars have long wait lists and we can buy them in meaningful quantities, we're able to really give our customers predictability and speed.
You mentioned Lucid. Obviously, they're based here in Arizona, and there is a lot of talk about all of the business and jobs surrounding Lucid that, there is a potential for here in the state. Give me the quick, snapshot from your perspective, what Arizona means to the EV industry moving forward.
Well, I think that it doesn't matter whether it's Arizona or any other jurisdiction. Bringing manufacturing to a community is profound. And so I think given that we're rewriting the rules, when I talked about this transformation being profound, what I meant was every one of these car companies is looking for a place to build these cars. They're going to be looking for raw materials. They're going to be looking for a supply chain. They're going to be looking for partners. They're going to bring jobs, commerce, tax, all sorts of other revenue streams to these communities. So it's very, very meaningful. All the companies that I mentioned on the direct-to-consumer side that are new entrants are recently public companies. Many of them, like Lucid, are pre-product, pre-revenue, and yet they have multi-billion-dollar market caps. Certainly, the capital markets have said we're willing to invest in these companies early and a little bit upstream. But I think that, in the case of Lucid, you've got a car that's in the mid-$100,000 range. So it's a very expensive car. It's going to appeal to a certain cohort of customer. I think that, all of these companies are very smart about how they're sizing and pricing their product and going to market. They obviously feel that they have a really good product market fit and that their volume expectations are going to match their cohort and what they can do. But it doesn't matter whether it's Lucid or Tesla. I think wherever they decide to plant roots and build manufacturing capability, they're going to get lots of concessions and they're going to expect to be really valuable members of those communities.
Hey, Scott, last question. What do you drive? And don't tell me it's a diesel Silverado.
I'm a car guy. I've got a 66 Mustang, and I've also got a 71 Bronco Super Sport. I've got 4 kids, and they all have their favorite car. And I'm sort of that guy that likes to drive around old cars. I've got 1,500 Teslas already in the fleet. So I can certainly opt to drive an electric car whenever I want to, but I tend to love my good old cars.
Yeah, listen, nothing wrong with the classic cars. I love those myself. Scott, thanks so much for joining us. Real quick, if people want to find out more about you or Autonomy, where can they go?
Yeah, they just go to autonomy.com, or we're in the App Store, the Android Store. They can even call 1-800-AUTONOMY. We're pretty accessible.
All right, sounds good. Hey, thanks so much for being with us on the On Your Side podcast, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Great, thanks for having me.
Take care. The On Your Side podcast is produced by Brad Denny. Our audio engineer and editor is Todd Martin. Segment producer is Colin Stanton. And I'm Gary Harper.
And I'm Susan Campbell. If you have a problem you can't resolve, maybe we can. Send us a message through azfamily.com or our AZ Family mobile app. Look for the On Your Side section and leave us a message. Thanks so much for listening to the On Your Side podcast. And if you like it, leave us a review. We'll see you next week.
On Your Side is on Good Morning Arizona every weekday morning at 6:45 and 7 o'clock, and every weekday evening on Good Evening Arizona at 4 and 5 o'clock. You can also catch it on Arizona's Family News at 9 on 3TV every weeknight.